5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And welcome back to the we still don't have a name for this podcast yet.
Not yet, no.
But whatever, we're on Off the Top Studios, and this is a new view for you guys. But we're just playing around with the camera settings a little bit.
Yeah.
So bear with us. We will be improving it over as time goes on. So I'm here with my friend Gaurav, and we're both the hosts of this podcast that has no name.
We'll let the viewers choose the name in the future. Probably.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, we don't have to let the viewers choose a name, but I think the fact that this is a podcast where we are thinking very deeply, I think it would almost be like completely against all of those rules if we just like slapped a name on it randomly. I think us sitting down and
having a conversation
and just letting it like just see where it goes, and then from there pick a name. I think that actually suits the podcast the most, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're actually right. So in this podcast, we're essentially just to give a little summary before we get into it deeply. We're gonna talk about a relationship debate. So is there worse things than cheating? Is what makes couples stick together from our perspective? And how dating kind of reduces the selection process and the cognitive complexity that we have to forgo in everyday life. And then from there, we're going to go on to music and the vibrations of music and how music kind of like transfers through us. And, different musics have different personalities and kind of analogies to understand music.
And just how they affect your vibe. Like, everyone always says, like, yo, this music kind of puts me up, this music kind of puts me down, this music puts me in this mood. We just want to talk about how and what it is that does that, and how and where it kind of roots from. Stuff like that.
And then going forward, we're also going to touch upon the topic of God, which I actually think that I have a really creative opinion about God.
Yeah.
So I want to explore that, and we'll go deeper into that. But the whole concept of this podcast is not to just give information or anything. It's kind of like explore information together in like a conversation.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I like doing. I like to gather all my thoughts and come to the podcast and talk about it with a person that's smart and who can really explore.
Essentially, what we're doing is playing a psychological game of squash, where it's like we're just hitting or tennis rather, and we're just hitting ideas back and forth and seeing what sticks.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. All right, so let's get into this. So our first topic. Okay, so relationships. All right, so okay, to you, what's a relationship? I think we should start by prefacing that because
exactly.
In 2019, there are different meanings to the word relationship, and for different people in different genders there's different definitions for a relationship. So I think we should preface on what we think a relationship is. Okay,
cool. So for me, it's not that complex to understand what my opinion about a relationship is.
No.
I just think relationship is rooted deeply from friendship. Like I'm talking like a girlfriend-boyfriend relationship is really, really deeply rooted from friendship. So to have a foundation that's very strong in friendship with sexual attraction would kind of form a relationship, right? But it also goes deeper down than that, because in order to become friends, you have to have a very good connection between the two. You have to click like right off the bat. You know what I mean? And that I don't find happening a lot when you're not friends with the person. You just start dating randomly. It takes a longer process. It takes a longer trust building process. And so for me, a relationship, the foundation of a relationship would be friendship. Yeah. Right? But then there's obviously different forms of relationships. Yeah. Such as, I'm not going to say there are many relationships that have happened that, people met off Tinder or whatever, and they vibed together and they kicked it off. Yeah. So I feel like we're going to explore why I think it's just simple and smart to just choose someone rather than just waiting. I just think it's simple and smart to choose someone.
Okay. And right? Okay, so just to state, I personally believe. Okay, so what is a relationship? So when you ask me that, it's essentially in my opinion, it's because here's the thing. Here's where it gets complex, because to some people, as soon as you start talking to a person, you guys are technically a relationship. To other people, it's when you guys choose to be exclusive with each other and with no one else, like just you two, is when there's a relationship. Some people, it's when you ask them to be your significant other, like boyfriend or girlfriend. That's when the relationship starts. So to me personally, I believe a relationship starts when two people decide to be exclusive to each other.
Right.
Like it doesn't have to be like doesn't have to be like the age old formality of, yo, do you want to be my girlfriend? I feel like when you two are vibing, you don't even have to have that kind of conversation. You guys should just both like be keen on, okay, like this is the person I really like. I'm going to be exclusive towards that person and whatnot. And obviously there has to be communication, because maybe when one person thinks that they should be exclusive, the other person still might not be exclusive to that person, right? So obviously, like, there has to be some sort of communication, but I think when both parties agree to be exclusive to each other is my definition of when the relationship actually starts.
Right. So what you're saying is um, the commitment to each other from a sexual standpoint, such as like, I won't do this with anyone else, and you can't do this with anyone else. You're saying that would be the basic bond and foundation of the relationship.
I wouldn't even say just sex. I would say just emotionally too, in terms of like, you're committed to this person. Like, okay, like, you're the only person, like, okay, not me, okay, emotionally and romantically, emotionally.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can lean on other people for support. That's what friends and stuff are for, right?
Right.
But in terms of like admitting two parties have feelings for each other,
Yeah.
they want to be with that person romantically, like spiritually, all that stuff. Like when that almost like that verbal, it's like a verbal agreement at that point. It's not really a contract, because I think the contract is marriage, but the verbal agreement to make that contract happen, I think at that point is where I would consider that to be a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if some people agree, some people don't.
No. I mean, you're actually start talking about like when you're consciously aware of the the dialogue between two individuals that is like, okay, we're gonna commit now.
Yeah.
What I'm kind of going towards is like how it's connected in the first place, how the two people kind of connect in the first place.
Okay,
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there are many relationships, and this has happened to me for sure, where it's kind of like, oh, we haven't said in dialogue that we're kind of committed to each other, but we kind of are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And what holds that together, right? And I think what holds that together is the basic factor of simplicity, right? Because look, you're looking for the best version of you.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone's looking for the best version for themselves of the other person.
Yeah.
And so, what's gonna happen there? Okay, if you had 1 second and like you choose one person out of the 3 billion other people every second, that's like 360 years.
Yeah.
Right, and then in 360 years, you're finally gonna find that person.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, you found your person. Good job in 360 years. So I think that when you commit to someone, you're kind of, even though the other person has flaws and they're not the perfect person for you, and you got a shit deal either way.
Yeah.
I feel like that subconsciously we do that because we want to reduce the cognitive complexity of the whole process.
Yeah.
Just, I have to now go out and choose all these things and like figure out all these people to see if it's the right person.
Yeah.
I feel like we just want simplicity in our lives, which is why like when there's too many options on the menu at a restaurant, we're like, oh my god, I just want a sandwich or whatever. You know what I mean? So I feel like that is why most people get into relationships in the first place.
Just to simplify life.
Just to simplify life. And not from a conscious perspective, from a subconscious perspective. Your brain just wants to simplify shit.
Yeah.
And a relationship is one of the biggest things your brain has to simplify, because we are a reproductive species, right? So I feel like from a deeper standpoint, that's what brings them together and bonds them. But and then after that, they realize, okay, this might be the person for me. Even this person has flaws, but I can commit to those flaws.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your opinion on that? Because I don't know how I feel. I don't think I feel strongly on just making a choice to get a choice out of your, like, to get it out of your system. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel. I don't think I feel strongly on that.
Okay, so what part of it don't you feel strongly on? Like, do you feel like it's not something that we actively do, or do you feel like it just doesn't exist?
I definitely believe that people do that. Like, people definitely just get into a relationship, not for the sake of getting a relationship per se, but in terms of like they literally just like we see people all the time they'll just get into a relationship like without even putting that much effort into the person in the beginning, right? Like, just right away get into a relationship, feel the waters and test it out right there, so they don't have to make that choice, right? I personally just don't believe in the choosing just to choosing. To me, the way I look at it is life is short, right? So if that person is not like the person for you, if it's not the person like that you want, I don't believe in investing more time than required, than
Right.
necessary to be in that, like no, like not staying, like I wouldn't stay in a relationship with someone that I don't like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for no reason. Like, you know, I personally believe that like your time, everything you put into a relationship is a valuable asset, and not everyone deserves it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if that person I did not feel was like, you know, the person I want to be with, then definitely not. Like that's not what I would do. You get
Okay.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, so I don't believe in like that. Make a choice, like pick something so you don't have to make that choice later, kind of thing. Like
Right.
I'd rather just sit out of the game and just, you know, observe from a distance, and then when something comes, something will come. You get what I'm saying?
Right. But then here's the question I want to ask you. Is there what would you feel about the person's flaws? Because if the person has flaws and you see it,
Oh, everyone has flaws. It's just what you're willing to deal
compromise.
with. It's yeah. At the end of the day, everything is a compromise. Sex is a compromise.
Yeah.
Everything.
So I mean, my debate towards that would be, why would you want to wait and just sit on the sidelines, right, when you can get in the game
Yeah.
and you can deal with those things first? You know what I mean? From like from not from a conscious standpoint, from a subconscious standpoint, like from the back of our brains. Why would our species want to do that later on when they can just do it right away, get it over with, get all the sex drives over with,
Yeah.
and then live on? You're gonna compromise both ways, right?
Yeah.
And you finding the perfect person for you is nearly impossible.
Yeah. I
You
get
know
what
what I mean?
saying.
So that's a huge that's a huge conversation.
Yeah, but to come back at your point, you're talking like, okay, at the end of the day, it's about what you're willing to compromise on. There are some things that for some people are complete, like non-negotiable.
Right.
Like to some,
What would those some things be for you?
for me personally,
Yeah, for you.
like a person definitely has to be compassionate, and they have to be independent.
Okay.
Like someone, like that person has to be willing to take care of themselves.
Mhm.
Like I should be the cherry on top of their life. I shouldn't be the ice cream. You get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I'm not.
Exactly.
I shouldn't be the necessary part of the person's life. Like I should be what makes it better. Like I should be like the chocolate fudge on top, and the same thing vice versa. Like I should be at that point where that person is the extra topping on top, the sprinkles, the chocolate coating, whatever it is. Like that, they make my life better. They're not the essential part of my life.
Yeah.
So that's something that would not be compromisable for me. Compassion, respect, like, you know, in terms of for themselves and for others, like not like, you know, just being respectful, being compassionate, being, you know, just realistically speaking, like basic life things. And obviously people can go into more detail. Like some people can be like, oh, like she has to have blonde
Yeah.
hair, like, you know. So those are to me more like those are stuff that you can compromise on. But there are some things that I don't believe that can be compromised on. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
So would you think that after you find that one person that fits your needs,
Yeah.
that life would be more simple for you?
Yeah, it'd be at the end of the day, it would be like one less thing to think of, you know. Like it'd be like, oh, okay, like I don't have to worry about am I gonna have kids, or I'm not gonna worry about, oh, like is my bloodline gonna continue, or is it like am I gonna find like love in my life? Like that's stuff that, yeah, you're right. As like what, like lower 20, like, you know, we're young adults. That's a big point of discussion for like a lot of people. I would say 95% of the world,
Yeah.
if not 100. Like, you know, like no matter how big of a genius or nerd you are, even you're thinking about, yo, like, am I gonna be able to have kids, or am I gonna like have, like, you know?
Yep.
So it definitely is a huge burden out. But to me, I would rather, like, it's about, at this point in life, it's about the way I look at it right now is that time and all that stuff, and even energy, like being in from my experience being in relationships that haven't worked, it's not worth the energy to me to put into the wrong person. You get what I'm saying? That's why, I mean, like, I wouldn't just pick for the sake of picking. Like, I've realized that when you put your energy and all that stuff into the wrong person, it can net negative results.
Yeah.
And it can be more detrimental to you than getting rid of that choice in the first place. So that's why I believe that, like, picking for the sake of picking is not my style.
Yeah.
It might be other people's style. You never know.
Yeah,
Right? A lot of people do that.
So essentially, from what you said, you kind of would agree to, if someone comes, then you'd press the gas pedal and go on.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that I would not settle down right now. I
Yeah.
definitely would.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
the right person has to come. Like, I wouldn't compromise.
Okay.
Like.
And for someone who hasn't figured that narrative that you figured out,
Yeah.
then relationships and going into relationships would be, as equivalent to as picking something on the menu and trying it for the first time. Someone who hasn't got it all figured out, which is by statistics like 98% of the world. Right?
Yeah.
So I mean that's a process of reducing simplicity by choosing every option on the menu and trying it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the point I was trying to get at. But it makes sense. Like, you obviously gave a lot more insight into it, and I haven't gotten the narrative fully figured out yet, so I don't really know.
To just to kind of thing on your opinion, it's like, okay, so there's an entire menu. The way I'm looking at it is like, okay, cool. I don't. Let's just say I don't like fish. Every fish dish is gonna come off the list right away. Say my favorite food is steak. All right, cool. So there's 3 steak options. I'm gonna go for those 3 options versus trying everything and seeing what's fair. Yeah, you can potentially miss. Like, you could probably have the best fish dish in the world, and make you a lover of fish. Like, you'd probably miss out because you just took it out. You filtered it out. But if you, like, generally people, like, I feel like at this point of our lives we kind of have an idea of what we like, and, like, just in terms of, like, and what we want. So, like, it makes it an easier decision. And you have to wait, like, thing, but sometimes people, like, if you don't have the, like, let's just say for the sake of the example, if you don't have the money to pay for everything, you're gonna have to filter a bunch of shit out. Right. Like, if you're not trying to spend your entire bank account on trying, like, everything on the menu to find out your favorite one, you're gonna have to narrow a bunch of things out. And if that's the way some people do it, that's the way some people do it. That's just the way I look at it.
Yeah, and that's dope, because now we're, like, actually talking about this topic about relationships and whatnot. We're actually getting a lot of insight into, how you would organize your thought patterns towards relationships, right? Because my thought patterns aren't that well developed for organizing the relationships and the menu and all that stuff, right? So you've got it figured out pretty well to the T, I'd say. So what would you expect? How long would you expect to be in a relationship for you to know that it's good? If you since you have a lot of stuff figured out, maybe you kind of got some insight into that too.
Okay,
like
so
a time frame.
to realize it's good, as in to take the next step, aka marriage, or
no, just to mentally commit, because first 6-7 months out of the relationship, from my personal experience, you're not really mentally committed to it in the sense that you're not fully into it. You're still testing the waters.
To me personally, okay, so I always believe that every relationship, there's that honeymoon phase. Yeah. So that's the beginning, like, first 3 to 6 months. That's that, like, phase where, like, that person can't do no wrong, and I don't think that's the best time to analyze anything, right? So that 3 to 6 months, you're just kind of feeling it. You're trying to get a feel for the person. You guys still getting to know each other. Like, there's still a lot that you guys don't know at that point. It's after that, after those, like, I would say a year. You have to at least a year. Yeah. Where you have to come out of that phase and have at least a good 6 months out of that honeymoon phase, where you can kind of take that step back and process what's happening in that relationship and be kind of objective about what's happening. And I think at that point you can make a decision. Okay, this person is not really, like, I could potentially see something with this person and continue, or you know what, this is not gonna work out, and take a step back. Obviously you can do that before or after, like, it doesn't change, but generally to me that year is where you've had the best of both worlds kind of thing, and at that point you've had fights, you've been able to see a good amount of this person to make a decision and carry on, like, you just kind of renew that contract and keep going, and, like, or just choose to not keep going, kind of thing. Right.
I'm learning a lot from this. From this.
What's your take on it?
Well, my take on, like, what part of the conversation?
Like, at what point, like the question you asked, like, what point do you think this, like, this is the person that you want to continue with, or what point in your experience?
To be honest, I think a good 6 to 8 months would be good enough for you to find out. For me, a huge thing is loyalty,
Yeah.
right? And that's huge for me. Like that's one of the biggest things
Yeah.
for me is loyalty. And
Yeah.
so but the thing about loyalty is an ongoing process, you know, to trust someone. So first 6 to 8 months, I kind of get an understanding of how their loyalty, how they react, and I'm a person who likes to focus on the details. So even like, you know, if they're using their phone beside me and they're trying to like hide their screen, I'm not intentionally looking, but if you know if I notice some sneakiness on me, that throw my whole game off. So everything has to really line up for me in the first 6 to 8 months. If it all lines up for me, then I know that, you know, going forward, this person can be trusted. And that's a huge thing in culture nowadays is trust between two people.
Yeah.
So that would be my kind of like take on it. Other than that, like, I don't really know on a very detailed aspect. I've never given it that much thought to understand what I really want in finding a relationship. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because more so I kind of already have one. But,
Yeah.
but I've never given it that much thought. That's why I wanted to talk about this in on the
Okay,
podcast.
so to touch on what you said, okay, so you said loyalty is probably the biggest part. Loyalty in what aspect? In terms of like, this person will never lie to me, or in terms of like sexually, or in terms of like emotionally, like, and what aspect do you mean loyalty?
So, loyalty in the sense that, you know, of course, sexually. I mean, that's a given, right? You have to be loyal to me sexually. Now, I'm not saying you can't check out other guys and be like, oh, he's pretty or whatnot. That's completely fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, there's boundaries not to go forward and like message other guys and talk to them, whatever. You be friends with them. That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But mostly emotionally, I'd say emotionally, right? There's no point in time where I want the other person to feel that this person's not right for me, this and that. And for that, I have to put in the effort up front of making sure that never happens. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, emotionally, she can never be like, fuck this guy, I'm going to go do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because this guy's an asshole, this, whatever.
Yeah.
And that emotional part, why I like this kind of like, you know, emotional loyalty is because I control most of it, and the other person kind of just like reflects off what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that makes this stuff simple. But what would you think? What would you think loyalty for you would be?
To me, I mean, it's all a combination of everything. 'Cause, like me, okay, so as of recently, I've been like, if you're on social media a lot, you can see that there's this whole thing where it's like, where people are give relationship advice online, right?
I don't get that whole thing.
Without knowing the situation, without knowing all that stuff, they give very vague advice. Like, everyone would be like, oh, the worst thing in the relationship that can happen is cheating, or the worst, like, everything is forgivable except for cheating. And I'm kind of failing to understand where it's coming from, because me personally, okay, yeah, cheating is bad. If someone were to have sex with another human being, I would definitely, you know, that would definitely affect me. But to think that it's the worst thing that could happen to me, I personally would rather be like cheated on than be cheated on sexually versus cheated on emotionally. Because I feel like when you're in a relationship, it's the emotions that are the bond, right? The sex and all that stuff is
icing on a cake.
Icing on a cake, exactly. It makes the cake better. It makes everything better, but it's not the base of the entire relationship.
Right. Emotions
are, you know, connection, all that stuff is, right? So that's why I fail to understand this whole like they cheat, cheating is the worst thing in the world kind of thing. You know, I just don't understand. But that's what I've been reading. So I don't know.
So let's break it down. I mean, there's you know, cheating. The thing about cheating is it fundamentally breaks down the foundation of the relationship, right? The first commitment that you guys had with each other. It kind of just breaks it, and it also kind of tells the other person. For example, I cheated on the person with, you know, I cheated on a girl with my girl with somebody else. Right? It tell my girl that, yo, everything this guy said is a lie, and everything this guy said is fake. He's fake. You know, this whole thing was just not meant to be. All the dates were fake. This was fake. That was fake. Everything was fake. And so that kind of is betrayal in a sense. Now, I think what you're trying to get at is people kind of have established a thing where cheating is the biggest thing that can happen. where I think betrayal is the biggest thing that can happen, and cheating is just one of those betrayals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's obviously a bigger betrayal than just cheating, because cheating is a very small part of it, although huge, because there's a lot of relationships that I've actually seen where cheating, you know, a girl would dance on a random guy at the club, or a guy would dance on a random girl at the club.
Yeah.
Those small are still sexual attractions. Those are still cheating, but couples don't take it that heavily.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like kissing, or the couples don't take it that heavily because they are not tuned for sexual cheating. They don't care that much about it. They more really care about emotional cheating. You know what I mean? So there's so many different cheatings, and so all of them kind of collectively form something called betrayal. But then there's many other things that form betrayal.
Yeah.
Right? What would you think? What's your take on that?
Deceiving.
Deceiving? Like what? In what sense deceiving?
Like, to me, it's all transcendent. Like in terms of like betrayal, like it could be from everything from emotionally to physically, you know, or to like, you know, even like in a situation where you rely on that person and they kind of were like say you were telling them your problems and they went and told someone else, like, you know, stuff like that. All of that to me is all on betrayal. Like,
right.
I hold what's it called? I hold emotional betrayal a lot higher than physical. Right. If you get what I mean. But that kind of raises the question, okay, so why do people cheat? What do you think? Because
that's a very interesting question. I don't feel like I have a solid definition for it, but we can explore that.
Because here's the thing. There's always this thing where it's like, I'm pretty sure you've heard this before, where it's like guys will cheat physically, but women cheat emotionally.
Right.
You know, I think we've all heard that, right? So my question is that true? And B, if it is true, is that why kind of okay? So is it safe to say that women in general are more what's it called? Not lenient, but they're more forgiving of cheating when a man does it versus when a man does it for a woman.
Right.
Is that safe to say?
I guess it's safe to say because women's main priority in an ecosystem is to be a mother. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? And a mother's top quality is forgiveness and you know, forgiving the person that's
so you think
doing
it's like
whatever.
Biologically enrooted in
exactly that's what I'm trying to get to. It's biologically engraved in them to be more forgiving than a male is, right? A male needs aggression, and male needs other forms of, you know, like I'm gonna kill this thing because of they have to hunt, well, whatever. All the male attributes that go to that. But yeah, you're right. Females are more forgiving. Yeah. So I think it's safe to
so now that breaks like so like that's like an aspect of cheating too. Like is the person cheating because this person isn't giving them the attention versus is this person just physically attracted? Like, you know, there's different levels to all of it. It's not like black and white, you know? Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of gray with anything that comes to relationship, with a lot of things really, but especially relationship, there's a lot of gray, right? So that's why like I just don't understand why people make relationships black and white. Like it's, to me, it's kind of like, you know, like their priorities are kind of out of whack, kind of thing, you know?
Okay. So would you think that there's a hierarchy towards cheating and the types of things you can do for cheating that would make number one, and number two, and number three, and as it goes down, it'd be less priority?
What do you mean?
So, for example, everything, there's a hierarchy, right? To understand like what cheating is. Everything, there's a hierarchy. For number one spot, this is the biggest thing, and number two thing, this is the biggest thing, and number three is getting smaller.
Oh, what would my hierarchy be?
Yeah, what would your hierarchy be? So, and cheating in the form that we've discussed, like there's sexual cheating, and then there's emotional cheating. We've kind of described sexual, and what would you think emotional cheating would be?
Emotional cheating, okay. Ooh. Emotional cheating can be as small as like. Lying is emotional cheating. Like, I mean, obviously there are some situations where it's it won't be as big. Like there are harmless lies, like small lies, and there are bigger lies. Mm-hmm. But I think lying is a form of emotional cheating because at that point you're still breaking that same commitment in terms of that you are with sexual. but it's on emotional level. Like especially if it's like, oh, like I don't love that person, or oh, you are the one, like, you know, just stuff like that. Like, you know, I'm not seeing that person behind your back, like stuff like that, just lying. I think that would be the worst one. No.
Yeah, I guess so.
That would be I think my example. When I'm put on the spot, I think that would be my example of emotional.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So what about like being led on? Because I feel like that would be a very deadly one. Like that's a huge factor of, and it's not necessarily cheating.
Yeah,
It's not necessarily
it's deceiving.
It's deceiving.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it's like an emotional cheating.
Yeah.
Because, and okay, one sense is being led on, like in terms of like you've made a commitment with that person without the intention to hold that.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, then I guess that is.
Yeah, right. For example, like I see a lot of males do this, and like like a lot of our friends do this too. They commit to a girl,
Yeah.
right? And to us they're not committed, but like to the girl's like, yeah, you're my boyfriend, this and that, but in the guy's side of the world, he's not committed. Right? Like all his friends, he's messing around. All his friends are like,
Yeah.
this that, but the girl thinks he's committed, and so what would you call that?
That's deception. That's definitely
Yeah.
you know, that's emotional. That's emotionally cheating, and that's physically cheating
Right,
too.
so-
if they're thing. But the thing is, we have to be open to the fact that it might be the same thing on the other side too. Like we only know what we're shown. You
Right.
get what I'm saying? Like, so if we're shown, like if we're guys and we're behind this, we can't compare someone's chapter 1 to someone's chapter 6. You get what I'm saying? Like, we only get to see, like, if I'm watching the trailer and you watch the movie, I can't tell you, okay, yo, this movie is very emotional if I'm watching just the trailer. Like, from where I'm saying, oh, it's a good movie. But when you watch the entire movie, you're going to pick up all the mannerisms. You're going to pick up all the small things that make it a good or a bad movie. So I can watch a trailer for a movie and be like, this is a great movie. And I can watch the movie and I'm like, yo, this movie sucked. Because there's a lot more that we get to see, right? And I think that's the same thing with the guys and the girls. From a male perspective, if we see all of the guys, like everything they're doing, of course we're gonna be like, yo, this person is a shitty person, or this person is a really good person. If we're only like, we don't get to see behind the scenes of the female side. So from what we see, everything is all night and day. You know, it's great. Like, you know, they're doing everything they're supposed to. But that's all they're leading us to show. Like, we're not behind the scenes. We're not watching that movie. That's not the movie we're subscribed to.
Right.
We're watching this movie. That's just a trailer at that point. So at that point, it's, you got to make a judgment, and that's where the trust comes in. Where it's like, you have to have the trust that that person is showing us their movie and like actually being honest about the movie, and not just showing us like the best parts and telling us it's a great movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's kind of scary. Wouldn't you? Personally, I think that's very scary, because now you're entrusting your whole entire life and your paradigms towards a person's and their story that they're telling us, and you're holding them to that story, and they can be deceiving, falseful. And so when when that breaks and you realize this person was deceiving and falseful, and then the whole way you kind of judge that person in the first place collapses. The whole way you judge any person at that point collapses.
Yeah, and that takes a toll on your personal.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Your psychology. So essentially, like for us, when we're choosing a mate or choosing any person, we're checking for everything, and everything we know how to check, right? And there's certain ways that we check those things. For example, we check their loyalty. Now everyone has their own ways of checking loyalty. We check if this person can make you laugh, and everyone has those jokes that they can hear that makes them laugh. And so when something like that happens, when someone's deceived or someone's cheated on, the definition of how you judge a person collapses, right? And that's deadly, bro. That's super deadly, because that will throw you into a trauma, which some call it like breakup depression, and that's exactly what it is. It'll throw you into a trauma where you literally don't know your current status in life, like where your past is, where your present is, or where your future is. That's why we say, oh, I don't know where I am, help me, and stuff like that after a breakup. And so that's because you literally lost everything you've built, the structure you've built of living life and judging people to trust them has broken and collapsed into
Yeah,
pieces.
because your life just showed you it doesn't work.
Life just showed you it doesn't work. Exactly. So I think that's a very, very fundamental and scary thing about relationships.
Yeah.
And I think it's the most important and scariest thing about
Yeah.
relationships from a personal standpoint. Like, you know, it's from a person that is committing standpoint. That's super scary, man.
Yeah.
Both sides, super scary.
And that kind of leads us back to our original discussion about relationships, where it's like, are you just trusting everyone? And that's why I feel like you got to filter stuff out. And that's why I feel like you can't just commit to everyone that comes in your way and get it out of your way. Because
Right.
when you're trusting another person with that much of your life and it has the ability to break you on that level,
Right.
I don't think everyone deserves to have that kind of power.
No, but the thing is, by everyone, obviously, you're not gonna date like anyone who asks.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you have those
Yeah.
specific categories planned in your
Yeah.
brain. For example, the first relationship,
Yeah.
I have a specific category of things like, oh, I want this type of person
Yeah.
to do this thing, and I like them for this
Yeah.
reason. I have that plan, and so I choose a person. But I don't know the millions of other things I don't have planned that need to be planned.
Yeah.
Right? And so the step-by-step process of actually finding out who the person that you really will connect with is to go through all these different relationships and collapse, and
Yeah.
you kind of are reborn, just like the phoenix we're talking
Yeah.
about last podcast, and you find out at the end what that perfect person
Yeah.
is, right?
Well,
So that in a sense, just to sum it up, that's what I was talking about when you go
Yeah.
through shoveling through.
I think my thing to that is that it doesn't hurt to use a finer filter. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see.
Like I feel like, and I mean this also might lead to more heartbreak too, because if you're filtering more, and when something falls through and that doesn't work out, that might even hurt even more than, say, like you're having a less of a filter and you're being more exploratory and you go through it consistently. But
and so how do you kind of define the filter that you need to see another person?
I mean, to be honest, man, like I feel like you feel it. Like if you're like a human being, like when you're interacting with another human being, like, you know, everyone has auras and, you know, all that stuff, right? And souls and connections, all that stuff. Like I feel like you can just feel a connection there.
Right.
I don't know if everyone has honed it down to that point where they can feel it with and identify it, but I'm sure everyone, energies, all that stuff, like when they're on that same level, you can feel it. And that's the way I look at it. And I think that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, just go with the gut feeling, right?
It's a
So you
gut
get it.
feeling at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah. But and so we were. This is the question I really wanted to ask for a long time, like just to explore it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Would you choose a relationship
Yeah.
because, like, say you're like 35 or 40, whatever you are? So would you choose a relationship just because you ran out of time?
If I'm 35, 40?
Yeah.
And
Compromise is a huge part of this deal.
So how is this person, and what am I compromising on? Like, am I compromising on looks?
I don't know what the compromise is. There's compromise. You know, there's a compromise. But would you choose it, or would you live your life by yourself, and just go on with it? What would you do?
I personally I don't believe there is a clock. Like we set a clock because we want to get married young and still like look like great at our weddings and have kids while we're young and
Right.
be, you know, that 20-year gap between us and our children, like, you know. But realistically speaking, like, there are people that find love at 70, you know. Like, yeah, you might not be in your prime physically, like both of you, but I don't think, like, people, I think till the end of time we don't stop looking. If we don't have it, we're gonna keep looking. There's no matter what, you're not gonna one day at 45 be like, yo, like, there's no woman in the world for me, and just sit there and become asexual. Like, that's not how it works, right? Like, even if it's the back of your head, you're still gonna look for a partner.
I feel like, bold statement, but I feel like the way we're biologically tuned, even if we have it, we'll still look for it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think so, and that's a male thing, because I'm not a female, so I don't know, but that's a male thing.
Because at the end of the day, it's who doesn't want the best. Like, if I have a BMW and a Lamborghini comes by,
Yeah.
you're gonna look, right? You're gonna be
course.
like, yo, what the hell? That's such an amazing car. But like if you're in a Civic, you're gonna look at the BMW. Like,
Right.
it's always how it is. Like, everyone wants what they can't have. And if that's something they can't have per se, or like they don't have, it's gonna bring an intrigue into them. Like they're gonna be like, yo, they're gonna be intrigued. They're gonna be like, yo, what is that? How could I get one of those? Like,
Right.
it's just how it works,
But then some would call that cheating, no?
Okay, so it depends. Okay, I mean, okay, so
Technically, it is cheating, right?
at what point is it cheating though?
It's
Just the thought of it, or going past the thought and just exploring those feelings.
I feel like the thought of it is cheating.
Like right when the thought comes to your head.
I think the thought is cheating.
No, but
I genuinely think that thoughts lead to energy, like actions, right? So if
Yeah.
you have enough of those thoughts, for example, if you're in a relationship and you see a whole bunch of girls all day and night, you're gonna end up pursuing one of them, even though you're not in a relationship. That's just
Yeah.
how you are, right?
Yeah.
That's how humans are. But that's what I'm saying. So I think the birth of the thought is also it's also deception.
I don't know if I can. Okay, so
That's
if I'm
my opinion.
yeah, yeah. If I'm driving, okay, let's just say I'm driving my Honda Civic. Cool. I don't have a Honda Civic, by the way, but I'm driving my Honda Civic down the street. I see a Rolls Royce. Cool. It drives
Okay.
right by me. I look at it. All right. Like I'm looking at it. Like I'm like, yo, I want that. But at the end of the day, they make their left. I make my right. Like I don't see how anything. Like I don't see what went wrong. You didn't trade your car and you didn't go like, oh, I'm gonna go and buy one of those right now because you can't afford it. Like you don't have it. Like you didn't pursue it. You didn't go after it.
Right.
You didn't go home and be like, yo, I'm gonna sell my house and buy and take out a mortgage and buy the car.
Right,
Like,
but-
you didn't pursue it. Right. If it's a thought, you'd be like, yeah, it must be nice, cool, but that's it. Like it ended there. You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but there's also this process that's also happening in you, is that when you see that car or when you see that Rolls Royce, it's like, I want it. Okay, now let me compare what I have to get it, in order to get it, right? And then, oh, my account, no, my this, no, oh, screw it, I'll just stick with this. Same process with the girl, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of, for that brief moment, you're
Yeah.
saying, oh, this person's garbage.
Yeah.
I want that thing.
No,
Right?
But, yeah.
But then you compare. It's like, oh, yeah, too much heartbreaks, too much pain.
Yeah.
Screw it. I'll just stay here.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing in your brain. So what I'm saying, in that moment right there, and you're having those moments like 10 times a day,
Yeah.
are those cheating? Or if not, are those thoughts that will later on become why you're cheating?
I mean, okay, I don't know about where it leads to, but I don't believe that thought itself is cheating because, like, okay, the way I'm thinking of it, and let's just keep going with our example. If the car's out of your budget, it's out of your budget. Like, you can't do anything about it.
Right.
So this is a car that you can have in your life that you can maintain your quality of life right now in terms of being able to pay your mortgage, your phone bill, your food, go out, do everything. It takes and it does anything. So that's what's in your that's your girlfriend. Like that's someone that's in your life right now that allows you to have like that quality of life that you want and still be able to take you point A to point B. Like they still do everything you need in your life. That's a completely different level. Like to me, like thinking about I think everyone has dreams. Everyone has dreams of the most beautiful looking woman, all that stuff. Like everyone wants a Victoria's Secret model. But if I'm sitting here watching Victoria's Secret and I'm like, yo, I want her, I didn't just cheat on my girl. I think that's a thought that everyone has. Like
Right.
even women will be like, yo, like that I wish I was her, or not, I wish I had him, or whatever. I don't believe it's cheating until it materializes. Like in any sense, like in terms of like that person got up and started messaging that person. That's a different story.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm. So I can eat a person's alive, but until they materialize it, it's not.
I think thoughts, like as soon as it goes past thoughts, like as soon as it materializes into something, is where I start considering it cheating.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, how am I supposed to? I can't tell your thoughts, unless you tell me and materialize them. Then I can persecute you on that. I can't like read your mind and be like, yo,
No, you're right. Yeah.
you're thinking about this, you're thinking about that, you're cheating. As soon as it materializes, as soon as you say, yo, I want that girl to your girlfriend, that's different. Or if, as soon as you say it out loud, like, oh, really want that girl, and someone hears you and your girlfriend finds out, then at that point it could be thing as cheating.
Right.
But
So would you would you be proactive and make sure that those Lamborghinis don't drive by?
I mean, you have to take your, like, if your route home is passing by a bunch of Lamborghinis, then you're gonna have to take that route home. Like, I wouldn't change my route home. I would just hope that that person realizes that I provide the best value in terms of, like, I fit your life the best. Like, you know, everything is just better with me. Like, the way the life is set up is like I fit. Like, you have to contribute as much value as you can. Like, you might not be the greatest car in the world, and you know, sometimes people are the greatest cars in the world, but you're not. Sometimes you might not be the best boyfriend in the world. Sometimes you are. You have to provide enough value to that person where it's like, okay, I don't need that upgrade. Like, you know, yeah, it'd be nice, but I don't need that.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm happy with what I have, kind of thing. And that's what everyone has to do. You have to provide as much value
I get
as you
that.
can.
Yeah, you're right. No, even in my experiences, like I've made sure that I've provided my best I can.
Yeah.
And then when there's a situation, I ask, is there something I need to improve on? And then I improve on it. That's actually something I do very often, right? And so I feel like a lot of girls are pretty. They won't say that this is your problem.
Yeah.
They'll expect the guy to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. And they won't. This is the same concept as, oh, the girl is hungry, but she'll never say she's hungry. We have to figure it out that she's hungry.
Yeah.
Same concept. And so that's a burden on guys. I genuinely think that's a huge burden on us.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Because we have to figure their shit out. You know what I mean? So the fact that you said at the beginning is we're just the cherry on the cake is a huge factor, and that needs to be like announced through to people's ears that relationships are just cherries and sprinkles on cakes, but
And
the cake
ice
itself
cream
is the
and all that.
person.
Yeah.
Right? And that's huge. Even when it comes to husband and wife, I would not want my wife to be so dependent on me. I don't like dependency at all on me, right? I like them to be independent, and then at night you come home and then, you know, you do your thing. But
Yeah.
that's huge, man. That one, we should quote you on that.
I think I've probably read it from like a book or something, or
Shanthosh has a lot of experience in relationships, everyone.
not really. I just have enough relationship to know. Enough experience to know what I kind of want at this point.
I genuinely think when you're in a relationship,
Yeah.
your mind's cluttered and you can't think past your relationship. But when you're single and you get a time to reflect on yourself and what you like, you really get shit in your life figured out.
Yeah. I mean,
I think that's really key.
you can't reflect on something that's currently happening.
Exactly,
You
right?
know, so you don't really know a lot of the mistakes you made and the person you are in that relationship until you're out of the relationship, and you have that time to sit back and reflect. I've been like out of a relationship for a long time, so I had a lot of time to be able to sit back and reflect and be like, oh, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, this is what I like, this is what I didn't like. You know, when you give that time, and that's why I'm very against like when people hop out of the relationship and hop right back into the next one, because you haven't had that time to reflect, you haven't had that time to grow. You pretty much wasted a good learning experience. Like, you had a perfect time to take some time off and use that as a learning experience, but instead you just bypass you literally just look through all the slides, and instead of reviewing and like writing notes, you just kept looking through the slides.
Right.
And now you don't know what's happening. Like, you're lost. Like, you're like 20 chapters in, you're like, what happened in chapter 5? And you're making the same mistakes over and over and over again.
And that's what kind of like, you know, that's what necessarily we all do in life. You know what I mean? Like, we just go through it, and then every time something happens, we look back and reflect, learn, build a new structure in our brain, and go for the next opportunity, right? And that kind of happens on a level that's on everything. So you can literally take another aspect of your life and tie it to a relationship. Like, you can take your health and fitness, right, and be like, listen, this is my body, this is my temple. I gotta take care of it. If something happens, I gotta understand why it happened. Go to the doctor, figure out why it happened, and then not do that again, or proactively make sure it doesn't happen. And that same thing in a relationship, right? So there's a lot of rules like that kind of govern our life. And so we're gonna go into the next topic, right?
Yeah.
So as we mentioned, rules and stuff, I genuinely think the concept of God is so forgotten in the world, right? Because everyone associates different meanings to God, and that's what they should do. But I feel like I have a good one. I have a really good one that needs to come to light, right? So my concept of God is that it's governed by rules, right?
Yeah.
God is a bunch of rules that govern our life, and this is just something I was brainstorming on a drive, and I was like, holy shit, this actually makes sense. So now we have rules in life, just like what I just talked about, where you can compare a different aspect to your life to this aspect of your life, and understand that I have to grow, I have to do this thing, and I have to learn from it, and then I have to go back and do it again, and I have to learn from it again and do it again, and then other rules like we have here in our notes, like what goes up must come down, right? Physics, that's a physics rule, but it's also a life rule. You know what I mean? If you are on the highest peak of your life and you're traveling and you're making money, you're being what you want to be, you'll come down eventually. You'll have a collapse that you're like, holy shit, just like the monster in the pit and the whole Phoenix thing. You'll have a collapse. And so these rules that define us, right? So for example, the faster you go, the harder you stop. In physics, the faster you go, the harder you stop, hence a car accident, right? It just hurts you a lot. And same thing with life. Like the faster you go, the harder you'll hit a stop or hit a fall or hit a mental breakdown, or you're shut off, or your health will be bad, whatever it is. So these rules that no one can really explain them, right? No one can really explain why when you fall so deep in love and a heartbreak happens, why you crash and it burns you. No one can really explain that. And so I think God's definition was giving to these rules that fundamentally govern our lives, fundamentally govern nature, and biology and all that stuff. So I think that is the core definition of God, rather than some magical being that created the whole universe. I feel like if there was someone who created something, it would be God, who created these rules that no one really has an explanation to them. And you can literally count thousands of these rules in your brain, and they all make sense.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like how you're grown, right? Even like in our religious texts, it says things like, like a container can hold so much, like a person can hold only so much thought and anger and this and that before he explodes.
Yeah.
And so this water bottle can only hold so much water before it pops open.
Yeah.
Right? So where do these relationships form, and if they did form, who formed them? That's a really interesting concept, and that's what I want to explore. It's like, dude, there's so many things happening around us, like the more you laugh, the more you cry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's huge. The greater the thunderstorm, the more sunny it is afterwards. Or if there's a heat storm, there's a thunderstorm coming right after it.
Yeah.
Right? And so if we're having the highest times of our life, there's the depression coming right after it.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting.
Yeah.
Right? So that fundamentally is what I think the definition of God would be. And it transcends through so many different categories of our life and so many different aspects. It's literally in every single one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I actually thought it is. So what would
so do you think that you think that humans just put a label of God on that, like that whole high and low thing? Is that what we labeled God, or are you saying that a God created that?
I'm saying I don't know who created that, but we definitely didn't label it right. Right? Because we're thinking, this is from religious texts, like basically all of them, is God is the creator of everything.
Yeah.
So that's us, the table, this room, everything is created by God. Like a whole planet is created by God. And I think that's a very I just genuinely don't think that's real, from my opinion, right? It just doesn't make sense. Physics, evolution doesn't make sense. Yeah. But now if you define God as something that governs life, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So I genuinely think God is something that governs life. And to govern a bigger definition, I think some of these rules are something that takes us forward, right? Like, you shouldn't rush into things.
Yeah.
Now, who the hell invented that? Yeah. Why shouldn't you rush into things? Yeah. Right? Oh, it's because if you rush into things, you'll miss the details and you'll hit your head on the ground. Yeah. Right? But who the hell defined that? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, where do these rules even come from? And those are like back of our heads, like we just kind of live our life by. But every parent says it. Yeah. Every parent says some of these rules,
and it's come from somewhere.
So I'm like, it holds such a strong place in society. It holds such a strong place in individual heads. But like, what exactly is it? So I feel like it would be the raw definition of God.
To me, I've always looked at God as a moral compass.
Right.
Like, that's the way. Like, it just, everyone needs a moral compass. Everyone has a moral compass, right? To me, the word of God, religion, all this stuff is literally a magnetic field, and it's telling us where north is, right?
Yeah.
And so it's our job to either go north, which is the path of, like, whatever,
Utopia,
yeah,
yeah, where
all that
everything
stuff.
is, yeah.
Follow that north, or like smoke some alcohol, or smoke and drink, and go a little east, or like
Mhm.
I think it's just a tool. I think God is just a tool that's in all of us. I personally believe that. I'm not really a religious person, but I'm pretty spiritual. I believe that God is in. It's literally our conscious. Like, it's
Right.
like it's in all of us. Like that thing, that voice you hear when you're about to make a decision and all that stuff. I personally believe is a connection with that higher being. I don't know if I believe that God created the whole world and all that stuff. That whole concept that you told me were of God being a governor, that kind of matches what I'm thinking. Where
Yeah,
it's like there's
I hear
something
you.
in your head where
Yeah.
it's like, that's God. That's what's telling you what's right and that's wrong in your head, and that's where those thoughts had to have come from. Because if not, then okay, our parents told us this, and their parents told them this, and their parents told them this, and their parents. But like, where did it begin?
Mhm.
It must have began from somewhere, right? And so obviously, like, I do believe there is like a higher being in terms of like, there's something spiritually that connects all of us and stuff. But in terms of that whole God aspect or element, I think that's all in us, like in each of us. And I think that's what our conscious and all that, and our subconscious, all that stuff, I think that's what it is. That's what I believe God is.
Yeah. Yeah, I
you
hear
know
you.
I don't think it's a guy in the clouds.
Yeah,
you
and
know
and it's really irritating to see people. I mean, it's their own opinions, and they're just doing their thing.
yeah,
But it's really irritating for people to kind of give God as a bad energy, or not a bad energy, a mystical energy, where it's just magic and
yeah,
fruitfulness, when it's not, right? When literally the
yeah,
one thing you can argue to death, and there has been many debates about this, is God in physics, right? What is God physics, or is physics God? Like, what's the situation going on there? Because everything defined by physics is the closest understanding we have to what created us, right? So one can say physics is God because physics governs every single thing, no matter what it is, right? And that's interesting, because then you bring in the concept of love, and love is a very real thing, and physics can't define love. So then what the hell is love? Do you know what I mean? And there's like lying. Physics can't define lying. Physics
yeah,
can measure the emotional response you have to lying,
yeah.
but that's a different story than actually
Actual,
defining what lying is,
like, what weight
or
the lie has.
what you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, and I was thinking about this, and I'm like, like what are these rules? What the hell are they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think it's the governing body of life, and intelligent life, not
Yeah.
like ants and shit, but even ants and shit, they
Yeah.
have a kind of
Everything.
subject of these rules too. And so an analogy to really understand this is, if you have grass, right? And no matter, like, you keep it perfect, it's green, it's flourishing, it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's watered, everything's good. But then if you leave it for a couple weeks, it'll start to grow weeds. You didn't put the weeds there. You don't know where the hell the weeds came from, but there's weeds there, and they're starting growing now. And your brain kind of works a similar way, right? So you ripped off all the bad shit out of your brain. Now it's just chilling, it's good, it's flourishing. And then you leave it alone, and then all the garbage starts coming back, all the weeds start growing in your head again. You're thinking bad thoughts and stuff. So there's a huge correlation between those two things. One's in the physical realm, and one's nature, and one's physics, and one's all that. And the next, something else is totally not nature, not physics, nothing.
Yeah.
It's something random that's just happening in your
Yeah.
brain that matches reality, right?
Yeah.
So that's super interesting to me. And
Yeah.
there's so many things, there's so many different concepts like that exist in the world.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think the relationship between nature and physics is the definition of God. Like, I would genuinely assume that even when you're going through a breakup or your worst experience, I read a quote on the internet. It was like, you will, it's like, something along the lines of you will force yourself to say God's name, right? But then when you're sad, you will also force yourself to say God's name, right? So when you'll force yourself to say God's name, it's like, oh, I have to pray. Oh my God, this. But then when you're depressed, you'll be like, oh God, please help me, God, like that. You know what I mean? So it was obviously worded better, but so and so why does that happen? You know, like why does it happen? I don't. That's so interesting that even when you're depressed, right?
Yeah.
You're in the shallowest pit of your life.
Yeah.
You will climb up, because that's what we do. We climb up, right? And so, and you will go higher and higher, and then you'll come crashing back down. Yeah. Just like if you take a tennis ball and throw it in the air, it'll go really high and come crashing back down. So there's a huge correlation between everything emotional and physical, and I think that's, to be honest, would be a good definition of God. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm yet to see a religion who has to press down on that opinion I just gave.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed every point right there. That's kind of what
is that what you think?
Yeah. In essence, like, to sum it all up, yeah, that's what I think. Because, like, it's just, yeah, like, that combination of everything, like, that perfect balance that you took, like, that middle is essentially what I believe God is too. Like, you know, like that combination of everything, like, you know, what's happening in our life and spiritually, like everything, like that perfect, it's like almost like a Venn diagram, like that middle part. Yeah, that's literally what God is. Like, I don't think God is like a one thing or like another thing. I think the Bible, all this stuff, like what we read, I think that gives us something to believe in. I think that's for people to believe in. Like, I think at the end of the day, like, if like you have to give people something to believe in, and for them to have faith, and for them to have faith in not only this, because, like, think about it, bad things are happening all the time, right? We can't just be like, oh, like, God this, God that. Like, we have to give the people faith that all of this is happening for a reason. Like, they're gonna go to a better place. They have to, you know, like, all of this, like, it's not in vain kind of thing. Like, you know, good people do go. Like, if everyone thought, or if everyone, like, was like, yo, there's no next life, we could do whatever we do the fuck here now is the end, and that's it, people would act way differently. People would be more reckless, less compassionate, less, you know, forgiving. Because a lot of people, and this kind of sucks to say, a lot of people can't be nice without reward. Can't, they, you know, they need a reward, and to some people that's heaven. That's, like, you know. And that's why you see a lot of people that are, even if they're religious, they're not really, I would say, good people, because they're doing stuff not for the sake of being good, but they're doing it for the sake of, okay, you know what, if I'm good, then in my next life I'm rewarded. Right. You know, there's that reward there. So, yeah, this whole, with religion, you can say there's a lot of flaws and stuff. To me, that's the plus point. It gives people faith in something, and it gives people, and yeah, it could be deceitful. We don't even know. We could be completely wrong. We could, like, you know, all these, like, you know, there could be a guy in the sky. You never know, right? But to me, the way I'm sitting and look at it, that it gives everyone a moral compass, and that's in that sense of, okay, like, I will be rewarded for everything I do good. And it gives people that, okay, let me go in this direction. Let me help that extra person. And I think if at any point, even if people are being lied to, or whatever, if they're lied to, so they do the right thing, I think at the end of the day, it's a worthwhile. Like, you know, it's good.
It's a life. It's a greater good, right? Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. So that pretty much sums it up, you know, for that topic. Like, it's either physics is what defines the rules of what we live around, and our moral compass and the direction we look, and, you know, the curves that go through our life of experience is actually the true definition of God.
Yeah, right? That's a crazy question. Like, that's a question you can go on for, like, we could do like a whole 3-hour podcast and just literally sit and talk about that, you know. Like, we can't, like, we'd have to deep dive into every aspect and really go down like a wormhole and all that stuff. But, like, from where I'm, like, thinking right now, I think it's a lot harder to go on a deep dive conversation about this because I feel like we both kind of have similar thoughts on this.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, so
Yeah.
we're not really, you know, like there's
We're
no.
not, and we don't have much information to really pick
Yeah,
this apart.
and that's
in
another thing
detail,
too.
because a lot of this information about God, we have to compare it with religious texts, and we're not that good with religious
Yeah,
texts.
we're not well versed in religious text.
Yeah,
And to be honest, we're like 22, 23 years old.
so we haven't even hit the
we
hard
we
part.
haven't had that experience to have that deep tech conversation. As of right now, everything we think could be a complete myth. Like, you know, like we just know what we've been taught, what we pick up, what we experience, right? And there's still a lot more for us to experience. But in like for now, I can definitely see God being just the that perfect balance of everything in life, like, you know, coming together.
Yeah, the bridge between our heads and reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So going into the next part. So.
Yeah.
I was listening to music. I think it was right after our last podcast, and I was like, "Whoa, shit!" I
Yeah.
heard some music, and I was like bounced up, and I was like shaking
Yeah.
my head and bobbing my head.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Whoa, what made me just do that?" That was interesting. You know what the hell triggered in me for me to just bob
Yeah.
my head and have an emotional response to it? So I went home and I started googling some random shit, and I found, and we could talk about this for a bit. I found that music itself is a vibration.
Yeah.
Right, it's vibration, just like, you know, if you're moving around or whatever you're doing, it's a vibration.
Yeah.
And so for it to trigger in your brain a physical or emotional response, it needs to be learned, right? And that's so cool because now all this music is hitting us and we're learning how to react to the music, right? And then I was like, that's interesting. So let's compare it to some people around the world. If the person grows up in a very gangster society, they'll listen to gangster rap, right? Not necessarily, obviously not everyone, but like you can say that. And if a person grows up in a very classical society, they'll listen to classical music. If their mom and dad listen to classical music, so that was very interesting to me. So, and music is a whole narrative in our life that kind of also governs our life, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about just like I'm not talking about lyrical music. That's a different story because the artist is kind of telling you his views through the lyrics. I'm talking about like melodies and like just the beat and stuff like that, right? So music is obviously associated with different personalities. We see that with gangster, classic, then there's regular rap, and there's, you know, people who like listen to Beyonce, Rihanna, some reggae, all that stuff. So you have a pretty fine-tuned knowledge about music. So what do you think about music and different personalities and all that stuff?
Okay, but at the end of the day, music is an expression,
Right.
for everything, right? Like, okay, this is something I would encourage everyone, if you can, go home, watch a movie, but watch it without any music. Like, there's no music in the movies at whatever. Like, literally just dialogue and thing. And then watch it again with music, and you can see the impact it has. Like, different instruments, different like notes, different keys, everything, they all trigger different things in us. Like, a violin is gonna be more sad, like a guitar might be more happy, like a triangle might be more happy. Like, you know, they're all different triggers for different parts of our body. That's why music is so important for movies and stuff, because music, they help set a tone before the tone's even set. Like, you know,
Right.
like when we're watching a scene in a movie, when you hear the violin go dun dun dun, like, you already know something's gonna happen. Like, you know, like you don't even have, like, everyone can be completely happy on screen, but if you hear that song go, you're just be like, yo, something's gonna happen, something's wrong's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's almost like remember when we were in high school and we had to get to class and it was like that. It was like that sense of, it promoted that sense of urgency.
Exactly.
You know, that song promoted that sense of urgency. Like, yo, I'm gonna be late. Like, I'm doing, like, you know, like, it just felt like you had to start running and stuff. And that's exactly what music is. Like, there's different musics that trigger different things, and I'm not sure how we're programmed to be triggered like that.
I think it has a lot to do with language, because language itself, like, language is also like music, right?
Yeah.
It's voice, it's this, but we're learned to spark a reaction with every word a person says, and so music is similar. It's just if it's a different language.
Yeah. So
right?
you think if someone's had zero interactions with humans their entire life and we just played a very sad song, you think they get sad?
Yeah, so that's why the footstep analogy is a sick analogy to explain what music actually does, is because you can read a person off their footsteps, and I'll show you how. So basically, So a person that's very happy and stuff, their footsteps would be like, you know, duck, 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 duck. It'd be fast. It'd be a higher pitch, and it'd be good, right? And a person with the sad footsteps, or if a person sad, he's walking, it'd be like dud, 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 and that'd be his footsteps. And when you compare it to happy music, it'd be like na 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 na, and sad music would be na 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 na.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see the relationship between a person's emotional status and a person's footsteps, and these were researches done by universities, right? And so that kind of correlates with your topic, right? So you see a person's emotions off their footsteps,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like you can literally read it. If you close your eyes and there's someone walking down the hallway, you can kind of tell their emotion. If they're angry, they'll be stomping a little bit. If they're not, so that's kind of interesting how it all relates together into.
So if a person never had any interaction with any human being, like say that the minute they were born, they were put in a cage with like glass walls and couldn't see anything, no music, no nothing, and then at 20 years old, we took them out and we played a really sad song, they'd still get sad.
That's an interesting question because music is learned. It's not.
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
what I'm thinking,
just
right?
given.
Yeah, so they would have, it's everything we accumulate over time. Like it's from like a kid hearing a lullaby, so seeing that we're going to sleep or stuff like that. Like that's what I'm thinking.
You know what? It actually might be. It actually might trigger them to be sad.
You think so?
Yeah, because it also correlates with walking thing. Nobody's listening to music while walking, but why are you walking sad? Because you're sad. Why are you walking slow? Because you're sad. Right? So I feel like the rhythms, the slowness rhythm has a lot to do with the person's mental state. Because it's slowness also is boredom in a sense because it's less stimulation to your brain. When there's a lot of like beats going on like back and forth, then your brain is stimulated and you're thinking you're happy and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like even that 20-year-old that was just released into the world with music, he'd have a huge effect on it.
So that means it has to be deeper than, like it's almost like like music is biological then in that sense where it's like
I think so.
we do have parts of our brain that are used for music, so it's almost engraved in us.
Right.
So if that's the case, no matter how big or small, even though it might not be as developed as say someone that's been listening to music their whole life, I feel like even in like in the smallest way, it will affect. It was still like so. That's crazy how like it's pretty crazy how music is literally biologically wired.
Whales sing, dolphins sing, birds sing.
Yeah.
Right? It's wired into our brain to listen to music. That's why we have such a huge impact on our emotions when music is playing, right?
Yeah.
And that's huge. This is why music is so big, bro. Like if you're sad and somebody plays a happy song or somebody plays a song that you like, you're gonna have an emotion like a physical reaction to that.
Yeah.
Right? You can't stop it from happening. It's huge, man.
I've never really thought of that, but like I mean, I always, to me, the importance of music. I'm a huge movie fan, so I understand the importance of music because of movies. Right. You can't have a good movie without a good soundtrack, right? And I think everything's indicative of that. Like everything from The Dark Knight to Inception, like you have to have good music, right? That's why Hans Zimmer, every movie that comes out, everyone wants Hans Zimmer to do it because he's like one of the best at it. You know, Brown movies, they have music that make, you know, it just takes the experience to the next level. So that's why I know music is important in that sense. But I never really stepped into the fact that, like, and obviously I know that a good song will bring a good vibe to you and all that stuff. But when we sit here and think that music is like biologically wired
into you,
that's crazy. Huge. So what do you think is the first music is probably like beating on something, right? Like a drum.
Drums.
That's the first song.
It was Stakes on Rocks.
Yeah.
Like that was the first song ever sung was we still have these songs. Like for example, there's very many songs where it's the first time you're hearing them, but you can kind of already predict what's happening next.
Yeah, I mean that's how
and you can sing along with it, even though it's the first time you're listening to it. So music provokes patterns in your brain. And you are biologically inclined for pattern recognition when it comes to music. Like you can predict simple patterns in music and kind of know what's coming next.
That's why,
and that's huge, right?
Yeah, that's why bars and stuff are like they're like 4 beats for a bar. Like there are rules to music that are deeper than what we're at, right? Like deeper than we think. Like the music industry, the way everything's structured in music, I guess it comes from like our human response to it biologically. Like
Right.
like it's probably been like studies done in terms of like a person really resonates when a bar is four beats. And that's why when you see like sheet music, bars 4 beats, and like you only fit 4 beats in one bar, and like that's why it's all structured like that. That's crazy.
And it's the one fundamental language that we all have in common.
Yeah.
Is music. It's a universal language. There's nothing that can defy music.
Yeah. Like I can listen to a fucking Spanish track and not know a single word, but I know it's a happy song.
Yeah, I listen to Tamil songs all the time, and I don't. And to be honest, from what I've heard, they're very sad Tamil songs.
Yeah.
But in my head, it's like vibing. I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? The lyrical part of it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of easy to also say that language is also music because we're just making sounds with our mouths.
That is. Yeah.
Right.
So is language music or music language?
I think language is music.
I think it would be the other way around. I think music is a type of language. Don't you think?
No, I don't. I don't, because
you can communicate through music.
Yeah, you can communicate in language.
So language. That's what I'm saying. Language is obviously the basis of all human beings. Not even human beings. Like in terms of like organisms, like species and all that stuff, right? Like whales have whale calls that might sound like a song. Like they might sing songs. Like you never know, right? So that's what I'm saying is music a language that transcends species, or is language a music? Like
no, I don't think a parrot will understand my language, but a parrot will understand me whistling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
it's a type of communication.
Yeah, so languages are formed from. See, like the thing is, music is more of like the title. Like it's music. Or in that music, there's many different types of frequencies of sound that can go through.
Yeah.
Such as a bat singing, you'd find like crazy annoying, but another bat would find it amazing, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like there's so many different frequencies in language. It would be a collection of those frequencies somewhere in the corner of the title of music.
Yeah.
Right? So music is the vibrations that our ears pick up.
Yeah, I think it's the other way around.
I genuinely don't.
Because
I don't know why you think that.
I think okay, think about it like this. Language is the way we communicate.
Okay.
And we can communicate through music. I don't think it's the other way around. You get what I'm saying? Like we can all be in a room completely silent, and I can start tapping my foot at a fast pace, and everyone will start tapping their foot at a fast pace. Like I just communicated to everyone that's the vibration I'm on. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Or because you're like anxious or you want to do something.
Yeah, like and that kind of that gets to everyone. Like everyone kind of gets that thing. So same thing with like whistling. If I'm sitting there and whistling, like okay, if you're in a crowded place, start whistling, and you'll hear that people are starting to whistle. There's no communication other than the fact that you guys put out a tune. You get what I'm saying? That's why I think it's a language. I don't think music is. I think everything we do in terms of from body language to like flicking your hair is a part is language. Like that is body language. That's you communicating something. Like either you're,
I see what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
You're communicating that you're either nervous or there's something on your stuff like that. That's what I'm not trying to say that music is a type of language.
Yeah. So what you're saying is language is a form of communication.
Yeah.
Right. But what I'm trying to say is yes, that's a form of communication, but any communication regarding vibrations through our ears and sound frequencies is music, and language just so happens to have sound frequencies, and so it falls under music. But that's different category of communication because I can tap you and communicate with you too, or I can move my hair and communicate. Like it's different.
Okay,
that's what I'm trying to say.
So wait, even a bass, like a sound wave, is considered music? Yeah, that's a song.
That's a song. Okay, there's a song for the universe. So essentially, this is recorded by a different frequency of sound that we don't see. I think I forgot what it's called, gammas or something like that. And so instruments in space, to like the ones that can pick these kind of frequencies up, recorded pulsars and noises from deep space, because noise can't travel without a median, and space doesn't have a median, so it just can't travel. So it travels in different frequencies. And so these instruments recorded this music and then converted it into an MP3 so we can listen to it. and the universe is like it's singing a song, like literal, like you can listen to this on YouTube. It's literally singing a song. It's like the pulsars are rotating.
Find that if you can.
Yeah, let's see if I can find it. But it's literally singing a song, and it's really interesting to listen to it. Let me find that for us. I don't even know what it's called. I heard it a long time ago.
Is that?
No, I don't think it's this at all. But
jeez, no, it's probably not one of these. Our
No.
musical universe. Jeez.
how a pulsar sounds. Let's listen to that. No, I don't. I genuinely don't know if I could find it, but
Yeah.
there's a video on it. I've actually watched it in a documentary, so I know it's 100% real. It's
Yeah.
not even fake. And so it's so insane what it sounds like. Let's try playing this track. I don't know if I have it configured to listen, but
No.
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
But anyways, so it's interesting. It's like drums beating, and then there's like you can hear like squeaks at the back, and that's like some distant shit happening. Maybe like some shit's happening, and that's so cool. So that's how I was like, wow, music is actually.
No, I didn't know that even just a single wave is considered music. Because to me, I would think that language is the base of all communication. Like even if it's a high frequency wave that we can't even hear, that's still a language because that's a communication between one thing and another, right?
Right.
It's information going from one to another. So I assumed that would be a language, and so that's why I thought that music is a type of language. But if a single wave, like a silent wave that we can't even fucking hear, is considered a song, then music is probably the base of all language then.
Yeah. Even like that it supposedly has all the frequencies of the universe, which I don't know if it's hard to believe, but maybe it has all the vocal frequencies of the universe.
No.
And it's a language, bro.
Yeah.
It's a language that you can talk to aliens in. It's messed because they have the same biological responses probably to music, right? Like fast-paced music simulates a fast-paced environment, slow-paced simulates a slow-paced environment. Like it's insane. And so language is also like me vocally saying shit is also tones and high tones, low notes. Because if Beyonce was to say a sentence regularly but with some nice voice, she'd sound amazing. And that'd be music to our ears, which it currently is. So that's interesting.
That's crazy.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for music as well. I mean, if you have any other thoughts.
I mean, not really. I mean, like, I actually learned a lot about music today. I didn't, like, to me, I'm a fan of music, obviously, but I'm not, I don't really listen to too much genres, right? So I'm not really very well versed in a lot of music. Like, I listen to, like, dancehall, rap, hip-hop, R&B, stuff like that. But there's obviously a lot more, right? I always knew that, me personally, my experience with music, like, I will use, like, rain sounds to fall asleep, stuff like that, So it's kind of, like, I always had an idea that music kind of fundamentally is engraved in us because, obviously, like, the thought of rain making us fall asleep and...
Where do you think that comes from?
From our origins,
Exactly.
Like we'd be in our people would be in like a teepee or a house or whatever, hear rain, and they just go to sleep, like and
I think waves or something.
Or waves, water, just water, So yeah, it's like I always knew it was on that level, but I didn't I feel like I just explored a new level now of music that I didn't know.
Yeah, and this and I've also taken a little bit of an interest into reggae, and I feel like reggae might just be my thing, like good reggae.
Yeah.
And because so much cultural music nowadays is only talking about like drugs and money and girls and shit like that. But reggae, it's usually talking about the connection between a guy and a girl, right? And now there's obviously some songs where it's like "Pull Up to Me Bumper," but like you know what I mean. It's mostly just talking about like sexual feelings between a guy and a girl. So and I kind of dig that. It's a vibe, It's a vibe. It connects with me like deeply.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just in a phase, but that's also very interesting.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that connects with me by far is Tamil music. And I feel like it's because I don't understand it. I genuinely feel like I have no idea what they're saying, so I can literally give every word a definition of my own, and every time I listen to it over and over again, I can give new definitions. Like it's just like orchestra for me.
It's up to your own interpretation. So the one song one day can be like, I wanna get money all that
Yeah.
stuff, and the next day it can be like, yo, like, you know, women. It's like, you know, it could be whatever the hell you want it
Yeah.
to be. I feel like those sometimes are the best. You know, like the fact
I
that
love them.
like that's why like I don't mind a Spanish song once in a while. Like I don't understand what they're saying, but when the beat's going, just like, you know, like
Exactly.
making
You
your
can
own
make your own
lyrics,
shit up.
yeah.
Yeah. So
no, I get what you mean.
yeah, for example, like VIP, at the time of VIP song, is talking about some guy who dropped out of like, you know, you don't need a degree.
Yeah.
For me and for myself, it was like one time it was like a love song, and then one time it was like a happy song where I'm going to work and I'm having a good day. But the definition of the song is totally different.
Yeah.
So like music can really transcend throughout
Yeah.
different people and different times.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And to me, I'm an alien to that music, but I still understand the beats.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
it's the beats at the end of the day. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, that's very interesting too.
Yeah. I think we've gone through all our topics.
We have, yeah.
How long was that?
I think it's hour and 25.
All right, that was a dope podcast. You have anything that you want to add? Anything?
No, I think we covered it. If anything, we have a next one coming out next week. So
Yeah.
Stay
Okay.
tuned.
So yeah, stay
Tune
tuned,
us.
and we're wrapping up right now. Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you do have name suggestions, please hit us up. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. You know, throw any input that you guys have. At the end of the day, this is not a information podcast. This is the exploration podcast. You know,
yeah, I
we're
like that.
you know?
Exactly. Because a lot of information today I didn't even know we are gonna talk about, and we still talked about
Yeah,
it. Kind of like
exactly.
I learned a lot from the relationship stuff,
Hmm.
and it was
Yeah,
interesting.
and that's exactly what it is. You have to speak to learn. You know, you have to put it out there to learn, and you know, just bounce them off a wall and see what sticks. You know, so yeah, that's the end of our podcast. Thank you for listening. Yeah, have a great day.